the next one, Gabby.
Oh, really? Wow. Wow, I can't believe I get this is a privilege. Okay, let's see.
And you get to sing it.
Nah, 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 nah. Okay, Father God, that's an easy one.
Go ahead, man. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Wait. How's it go?
Father
Father
God,
God, I wonder how I managed to exist without the knowledge of your parenthood and your loving care. But now I am your child, I am adopted in your family, and I will never be alone. 'Cause Father God, you're there beside me, I will sing your praises, I will. What? Sing your praises, I will. Sing your praises forevermore. All right, that's all you, John.
is that the remix or?
Yeah, it's my take on it.
I miss you guys.
I miss you more, bro.
By the way, for those of you that are interested, tomorrow there's going to be a movie on Pope Shenouda on CTV. I think it's Roy, and it will run, if I'm not mistaken, at 4 p.m. Cairo time, which should be about 10 a.m. our time tomorrow.
Thanks. You should put it on the WhatsApp groups.
Yeah, good idea. Any other picks?
I think we're good. Sorry.
Over to you then, John.
Yeah, I'll take yeah. Once you're finished, I'll present. Okay. Sorry, 1 second. One second, let me just try that again. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, excellent. Okay. Alrighty. You can also turn on your videos if you like. I'm just gonna let you know. But it's not a must. Okay, awesome. So I'd love for this to be a bit of a discussion, but and then we're doing a little bit of different tonight. And I'll kind of get to that in a second. So it's about social media today, and you'll get to see throughout the presentation why I called it not just social media, but social media today. And it has to do with a lot of the numbers that I'm going to show you and kind of the stats that I'll be showing you throughout. And our verse for today is, and then I'll get to the verse, kind of why the reason for the verse at the end of the talk is not that I'm referring to being in need, for I have learned to be content with whatever I have. Philippians 4:11. So in our discussion today, I'm not in any way planning to stop you from using social media. That is not the point of this discussion at all. And so if I do, for some reason, say that or in any way, I apologize in advance. That's not the intention from this talk. And you'll see, kind of like I said at the end, a little bit of why this talk is important to myself, to others, to all of you, and why it's critical to think sometimes about social media. The focus will be on refocusing our thoughts around social media. The second thing is I'd love for everybody if you can get on Slido. So please get on Slido, slido.com, event number 81659. That's basically, we're gonna have some polling questions that I'd like to, and it's anonymous, so don't worry, it's all gonna be anonymous. You can also use it for your Q&A at the end if you'd like. But I have three main poll questions and one quiz at the beginning. So I'd love for everybody to get on. So I'll give you a few seconds to do that. Again, slido.com, and that's the event number. You can get on it with your phone, on your computer, whatever you'd like. So I'll give you just a few seconds to do that. Can you guys hear me okay as well? Yeah?
Okay.
Hear you well.
Okay. Alrighty, so what I'll do is our first, oops, that wasn't supposed to be that way. All right, so our first quiz question is what two technologies or platforms in 2007 that changed the way we live? So I'm gonna open up so I'm gonna go, hopefully this would work. This is the first time doing this, so you should be on Slido now. If you're not, try to get on. Again, slido.com, and I've activated the first quiz. Is anybody having problems with that at all? Awesome. Perfect, cool. I believe there's 30 seconds to this quiz. Sorry, I forgot to mention. So again, what two technologies platforms in 2007 that changed the way we live? Okay, I think we're good. I think. Again, apologize, it's first time doing it online this way, so. Oh no. Ooh. All right. Okay, that's all right. Cool, that worked a little bit. Okay, so it's actually, so it's correct. So Facebook was one, and the second one was the iPhone. So the introduction of the iPhone was in 2007, and Facebook, but the reason for Facebook was before 2007, there was between less than 12 million users on Facebook. In 2000, kind of a midway in the end of 2007, we started shifting into a massive wave into Facebook, which got us close to 30 to 50 million people within 2007, starting into 2008. So 2007 saw a massive shift in users within Facebook, and that's kind of the revolution, as a lot of people say, the revolution of social media. So social media started kind of in that realm, with Facebook's transitioning from about 10 to 12 million users up to 30, 50 million users by the end of 2007, 2008. Today alone, and this statistic again could be even changing, like it probably changed yesterday, is we've got about 1.2 billion people across the world that are using Facebook, so that are users of Facebook. It's probably even close to 1.5 billion. That's almost 20% of the world's population. So think of the amount of change and acceleration of change that had happened from 2007. That's not a long time ago if you think about it, right? So from 2007 till now, and now we're up to almost 1.2, 1.5 billion people. Again, technology and the idea of social media changing that to that effect since that time is a really important concept, just to have an idea how quickly things have changed. I'll ask a very quick question before I go to the next slide. Anybody know what media, the definition of media is? Anyone want to take a guess? Gabby?
I have no idea. Is it like plural for something? I don't know.
Yeah.
Plural of medium, maybe?
That's right. Yeah. So
Yes.
perfect. Excellent. Good job. So plural of medium. So it's an avenue or a means of communication. Some sort of, again, it's coming from the word medium. So it's pretty kind of self-explanatory there. So just something to keep in mind when we're talking about social media. Okay. So I'm going to go through a bunch of stats, and the idea here is to show you again the change around the world till today, or when I say today, like in the recent times, of how social media has affected us as a society, has affected our living, how we live, how we interact with people, and really it's just to show you what the true change of what's happening today in society and why social media has become what it's become. Again, do I think, is social media gonna ever die? No, that's not the fact, but I think that's what the stats are really trying to show here. So I'm gonna go through these quick and then we'll go to our first polling question. So 61% of Canadians are engaged in some sort of social media. This is a 2019 study by the CIRA. It's a Canadian nonprofit organization that looks at internet usage and advocates for internet usage across Canada, making sure that it's in everybody's household. So again, 61% of Canadians engage in some sort of social media. The most popular social media platforms in Canada are Facebook at 77%. Again, these are 2019 stats. LinkedIn at 35%, Instagram at 35%, and Twitter at 26%. Again, these numbers aren't perfect, but you can start getting kind of the picture where this is going. And then Snapchat at 19%. Some more stats. So the Facebook's weekly usage by age group, and so this gives you an idea that age that doesn't necessarily matter in when we talk about social media. So it's not just like, it doesn't necessarily mean just young people are doing it or old people are doing it. That's not the case, and these stats are really cool to kind of show how people are interacting, or how different age groups are interacting. So this is on a weekly basis usage of Facebook. So 84% of millennials are using Facebook weekly as part of the age group. The Gen X are using it at 83%, or almost the same. And baby boomers, which is an interesting fact, is 79%. This is a good one too. YouTube has grown rapidly as well, and is still growing, right? For a lot of the channels that are being put in through YouTube, and now that it's being, that it's owned by Google. The use of YouTube is growing among Canadians who are over 50 years old. But in 2019, the stats kind of look like this. So 72% of millennials are using YouTube on a weekly basis. 67% are Gen X. 50% of baby boomers, like we said. 50% of baby boomers are using YouTube on a weekly basis. Twitter use is kind of in the same ballpark as from among all the age groups. So it's at 30% across the board, 29, 27, depends on the age group, but it's across the board. It's around 30% of all age groups are using Twitter on a weekly basis. Finally, Instagram, 59% of millennials are using Instagram on a weekly basis, 36% of Gen X, and 23% of baby boomers. So this is 2019. These stats for sure have changed in 2020, have probably gone up a lot more, just to give you a reflection of where we're at just a year ago. All right, first polling question. So let's try that again. All righty. Oh, Gabby, see your face. All right. Okay, let's try that. Okay, here we go. It should be live on the platform. So which social media platform do you use the most? Come on, people, more of you. If you haven't got in, get into the platform, slido.com, and here's the event number. Right here or down here? Oh, there's more than five of us today. And servants, please join. Oh, oops, sorry. Oops. Apologies, sorry. Come on. This is anonymous. We won't kill you. Yes, 7 more. Here we go. Keep it coming. You will not be judged on this, I promise.
John, you're missing ICQ.
Is that you? Is that you?
Yeah.
What was it? What was the messenger one when, like in 2000? What was like in the 2000s? What was ICQ? There was another one too. I forget.
AOL.
AOL. Yeah. Come on, there's 9 of us. There's about 15 in the group, or 17. Come on, people.
Now you forgot Pal Talk as well.
Oh yeah, Bell Talk. That's right. Yeah. Baby boomers. I'll give you another minute to get into it again. So if you want to go to the poll question, it's the second poll or it's first poll question, slido.com. And that's right here, 81. That's the event number down here. All right, some people are shy. All right. So this is cool. Like, thank you. Thanks for everybody that pulled in. Interesting. So YouTube, I kind of had a feeling about that too. WhatsApp, cool. Instagram at 44%. So the top 2 are YouTube and WhatsApp, as everyone can see. And then, can you guys see the polls, by the way? The results?
Yeah, we can see him.
Okay. Facebook at 33%, Snapchat, and then Twitter at the end there. So thank you for doing the poll. It's really interesting, actually. And yes, ICQ. Thanks, Tony. All right. So let's keep going, and I'll show you some more stats on this. This is taken from PayPal. Did a survey. The Canadian side of PayPal did a survey for about 2,300 Canadians, and just looking at their usage as a social media. So using social media for shopping, right? So 47% of Canadian social media users are shopping on social networks, spending on average about $77 per month. Most frequent shopping media avenues. So this is not Amazon. This is purely just social media networks. So you going into social media platform to then purchase, getting on the advertising and purchasing something. So Facebook is the most used in terms of from a purchasing point, or through Facebook, you're using it to purchase. So 29% of people are doing that through Facebook. 26% in Snapchat, and then Instagram at 25%. Here's an interesting fact on shopping. Actually, let me get to that in a second. So the next stat is 52% of Canadian social media shoppers admitted to impulse purchases. I'm sure none of us do that. Absolutely not. You guys are great and controlled. Everybody's good. They do not impulse purchase at all. But 52% of Canadians, that to me is a high number if you're, as an impulse purchaser. 54% find it hard to resist buying something they love when they see it on social media. Again, 54% find it hard to resist buying something they love when they see it on social media. 86% of Canadians interact with businesses on social media. That's also a very extremely high number. I bet you that's probably even higher during COVID-19. The last number there is over 80% of over percent of Canadians spend of their social media time interacting with companies. So interesting fact again is men actually shop slightly more than women on social media networks, and when you're looking at that stat at 80% or even 86%, unfortunately, a growing portion of the Canadian population that spend their time on social media are spending it complaining. So they're using that time, a lot of their time on social media, complaining about businesses or companies. Again, pretty high. That's a pretty interesting fact. All right, our next second and third polling question. So let's go back to slido.com. Alrighty, so the third polling question on slido.com there is, how much time do you spend on social media platforms per week? So this is hours per week. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. What's your average time that you spend per week on these on social media platforms? I didn't include YouTube here, but if you'd like to include your numbers on YouTube, no problem. So please be honest. These numbers will be interesting for us and for ourselves to understand how much we're using. Again, please don't be shy.
I just checked my screen time, and it wasn't a very pleasant result.
Yeah. I was just going to say that actually you probably just check your screen time. Well, I feel like we have a really good group of people here that don't use social media that much. Give another few seconds. Again, slido.com. That's the event number on the corner here. And servants, don't be shy as well to submit answers. Alrighty. So 36% of you, 11 that have voted, say 0 to 4 hours per week. And then there's another 36% that are more than 12 hours, 18% 4 to 8 hours, and then 8 to 12 hours, 9%. So I guess there's a bit of a range between the high and low. So thank you for those who voted. Interesting stats. 36%. Oh, that's cool. Any questions so far? Anybody want to bring anything up right now? Or okay, I will continue. So last part of the stats, I'm just going to give you perspective on the US a little bit, and just from especially what you've been seeing probably in the last few weeks with what's been going on in the US. This is a survey that was done by Pew Research Center in 2016 around social media and news. So kind of just the two topics. So it found that 62% of Americans get their daily news on social media. That's in 2016. Again, I just wanted to get some decent numbers, so I went back a little bit further, but 62% of Americans at that time, which for sure has increased since then, as daily news were getting their daily news on social media. Again, take that in perspective, and I hope you can keep that in mind when we get to our last part of our discussion. What are the platforms that were used for in the US that were used for used through social media, getting news through social media? So Reddit at 70% from 62% in 2013. Again, an increase from 2013 to 2016 of 18% almost, sorry, 8%. So 8% increase just in a few years. So imagine what it is today. Facebook sees a pretty large number as well. 66% of Americans use Facebook to get their news, their daily news, and it was up from 47% of 2013. Another really large increase. Twitter, the third largest, which is 59%, and 52% from 2013 to 2016. So the reason I brought this part up too is it's a question for all of us, I think, and I'll get to a little bit more detail later down the line, but where do you get your news? Where do you find your news? And I'm not talking about, I'm talking just daily news across the country or across our province or across the GTA. Where do you find yours? And if a lot of us use social media to find our news? Do you use your WhatsApp to get news, right? And I'm finding that a huge thing right now. Everybody's sending something on WhatsApp about something that happened the week before or a few days before or whatever. Like, is that where we want to get our news? And I'm not saying all news media as well is good. I'm just saying, are we only relying on social media to get our news? So keep that in mind as we continue. Here's a nice funny comic. So you're going to change the world with an online petition, a Facebook status update, and a couple of retweets. And then he goes, "You're right. I should probably share a few more links." I found that funny because, again, are we using social media avenues to do good? We can do a lot of great things through social media avenues, but I'm saying, are we using it just for one purpose and we're not going outside the box to do other things? So in this case, he keeps using Facebook to do all these amazing things and to change the world, but are we changing the world in other ways than just through social media? So question to yourselves and others, but so based on all these stats, I kind of gave you a lot of these stats, both Canadian and American. We went through it ourselves, so you can see that we do use social media. It's there. It's important. I'm not taking away its importance, even for a spiritual sense. I think it's going to stay. I think we need to use it in the right way, and I believe that a lot of us try to use it in the right way. But in the context of today and in society today, what are those things that we watch for when we talk about social media? I think the first thing that is really critical is the consumption of my time. How much time does it consume? And that's kind of why I put out those stats. Look at the amount of people that are using it today just across Canada. In 2019, how much time are we spending on platforms like this that are taking us away from other things? So again, I'm not saying it's bad at all, because I use it myself, maybe not as often as others, but I'm just saying I do use it. I use it even for my work to spread things around, things that we're doing, and I use technology at my job a lot. So again, a question to you and me is, how much time are we on these social media sites? What are you using your social media avenues for? Are you using it to edify? Are you using it to bring light to Christ? Are you using to bring light to good things, to issues like what we've seen in the last few weeks? Are you doing it in a positive manner? Are you using it as an avenue for good? Are you using an avenue for bad? Today, the difference between today and 20 years ago or 30 years ago is that your medium that you're using today is completely different from before. Today, that medium they use is spread across billions of people, but at an instant. Before, it was never like that. When when a lot of us were at that time of our lives, we were just using emails. And so when you're using social media and you're posting something, and the effects of that, whether to yourself or to others, it could either be used in a positive and create a huge impact, but also it could be used as a negative. If your heart is not there, it could be used negative, but also, and then have an even more worse impact across the entire either your group of people or across country or region or whatever it might be. So what are you using it as? And as 1 Corinthians 10:23 tells us, all things are lawful for me, but not all things are helpful. All things are lawful for me, but not all things edify. All things edify. Again, I'm going to say it again, 1 Corinthians 10:23. All things are lawful for me, but not all things are helpful. All things are lawful for me, but not all things edify. So again, what are you using the social media avenue for? I do hope, and I continue to pray always, that you guys are using those mediums for those reasons. I try to. I know a lot of people are. I know some of our bishops are on social media, so there's nothing wrong with it. It's just the way that we use it that's critical, because of the amount of and the large impact, as you can see in those percentages. have we forgotten that we are to be the image of Christ? And why am I raising that? It's not just to tell you that there's a spiritual sense to this, because I think we get so consumed in social media sometimes that we don't realize that we are all, God has given us a unique self to our being, and we are to be truly the image of Christ. And are we striving for that? Are we daily striving for it? Or is social media has become an avenue for us that has made us forget about all this? And so is it taking you away from becoming that person and becoming that person that Christ has called you to be? It is very important that we do see ourselves as unique beings, human beings, and not just compare to other things. And I'll get to that in a second, in the next slide. So again, have we forgotten through all this that we are to be the image of Christ? And are we the image of Christ even when we're doing our social media posts, whether it's Facebook or WhatsApp or on YouTube, whatever it might be? So again, something to think about, it to watch out for. The last and critical thing in this slide here is, where are you finding the truth? Just looking at those percentages, a lot of people, just seeing Americans in 2016 using the platforms, they're thinking that they're finding the truth through that avenue. I would say that we should seriously question that a lot in our lives today. The amount of bombardment that's happening through those mediums, and I would even argue it's even in the news and the media itself too, but is that where we're finding the truth? Is that the truth? Is that how we're getting the truth and how we're getting to the bottom line of things? I'll give you the example, and I know it's a funny example, but you guys have probably seen the two videos. So the first video that was shared a couple of months ago on WhatsApp, because a lot of us are not going to church and so on, and not taking communion, is the video of the two priests giving communion in a parking lot. And the drive, people are driving up, getting out of their cars and taking communion and getting back in their cars. Whether it's right or wrong, that's a separate discussion. But the amount of comments and sharing and liking and disliking and the judgmental aspects of people just on a video like that, by everybody sharing it. And then I hear all these stories about, oh, well, this was in the parking lot of St. Mary's, or this was in the parking lot of a church in New Jersey, and this happened and that happened. And we have no idea where the truth is. It's like we spread this news, and then all of a sudden the truth is so distorted that we tend to start judging, which is worse. And then all of a sudden we have no idea. We're not even asking the right people for the truth. And we're depending on that avenue that we just saw, and we've created the truth, and it's not the truth. That's just another simple example. Or the other funny video that went out there where the deacon was, during Easter night, and he's doing the Easter play, and he's chanting, and all of a sudden at the end of the play he falls down on, and trips, and yes, it's hilarious, I get it, and it was funny to me too. But again, we're taking that video and spreading it on Facebook, and I know Facebook I believe took away the video, but is that the way we are to spread the word of God and spread the truth of being Christians? Like, even, and I'm giving you the examples that are close to home, just because we do it ourselves and we don't realize. So again, where are we finding the truth? Christ has to be truly in our hearts to be able to find the truth. And I think within the last week or two with what's going on with the George Floyd issue, that's another thing that's been happening, is everybody's got an opinion, and great. And I think we need to stand up for those things. I lived in the US for 4.5 years. I know it is bad. I know that there is a real racism issue within the US, and it's more prevalent in the US. I've seen it myself. I've actually lived it in a few states that I traveled down south. And so, because I actually worked there for a bit, so I know that there's an issue. But very few people are talking about the truth. And the truth of the matter, what's happened is that Christ is gone. Christ is not around. Christ is not in anybody's hearts, whether the cops or others. Like, we shouldn't even be questioning not just the crime. We should be questioning what's in our hearts as human beings. Like, that's the truth. That's the real problem. Aside from the fact that justice isn't served by the laws that we have in the land, what about the justice of God and the truth that's in our hearts? Like, that to me should be the question. Nobody's talking about it except a few of our priests and our parish priests and so on. But what about the rest of us? You know, not questioning the fact that what is going on with humanity and the truth behind the fact that we have become savages. Like, we've become so bad as human beings. Like, when are we going to change as humanity? Not necessarily as just from a racism point of view. So again, that's the kind of stuff that has to come up in social media rather than us discussing things that are not truthful. So I hope that you can try to find the truth, not just through the social media, because I think it gets so distorted sometimes. So those are, I would say, those are the kind of four areas we need to watch out for. Now, going back, sorry, give me 1 second. Just plug in my computer here. Going back to the verse that we talked about, and the reason I brought this verse up, or the in this case the passage, is to show us how we can overcome the problem that we have. And what is that problem? I think the problem that we really truly have is that we have a real fear within the social media realm of missing out. And so how do you overcome that idea? How do you overcome that idea? And it's clear in the Bible, and maybe I didn't bring out a lot of verses today, but I think this will really help conclude kind of the discussion around social media and social media today in our realm. So maybe, you know what, Gabby, do you want to read this if you're still on?
Yes, sir. But I rejoiced in the Lord greatly, that now at last your care for me has flourished again, though you surely did care, but you lacked opportunity. Not that I speak in regard to need, for I have learned in whatever state I am to be content. I know how to be abased, and I know how to abound. Everywhere and in all things I have learned both to be full and to be hungry, both to abound and to suffer need. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Nevertheless, you have done well that you shared in my distress.
That must have been a WhatsApp message. Thanks, Gabby. So I brought this for two reasons. One, I think we always take the verse 13 and not put it in its context. So I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. We use it a lot. It's a great verse. We all love this verse, but let's put it kind of in the context of this. The context of, maybe I'll actually ask the group is, does anybody know when Paul, or at what stage did Paul write this book, or this chapter, or the book itself, Philippians? Where was he? What was he doing at the time? Take a wild guess. Okay. He was in prison. So, and he was getting, someone say it, sorry. He was in prison, and he was getting gifts, or he was getting supplies from people, and people were sending him things in prison. So he goes, but I rejoice in the Lord greatly that now at last you care for me, and that's where that comes from, has flourished again, though you surely did care, but you lacked opportunity. And then in verse 11, that's where really we need to focus when we talk about this discussion around social media today. Not that I speak in regard to need, for I have learned in whatever state I am to be content. Again, I'd love for everybody to repeat this verse. Not that I speak in regard to need, for I have learned in whatever state I am to be content. I know how to be abased, and I know how to abound. Everywhere and in all things I have learned both to be full and to be hungry, both to abound and to suffer need. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Nevertheless, you have done well that you shared in my distress. So, not that I speak in regard to need, for I have learned in whatever state that I am to be content. He was in prison, and I don't think any of us have experienced prison. But even if you have, it's probably not the greatest place to be. And so, for him to be in prison and to say that I'm content, that is a person who truly has a heart that has God in his heart. And that's the challenge. That's the real challenge. But this is the answer to our problem. You want to not miss things on Facebook and Twitter and your WhatsApp and so on. You know, don't kid yourself. We all get jittery. We leave our phones for 2 minutes and it's like the end of the world. We can't stand not seeing something. We cannot stand not going on Facebook, Instagram, and seeing the next big thing. We do miss. We do feel that. We have that fear of missing, but we have to start getting over it by learning how to be content. And you're never gonna do that if you're measuring your life against someone else. And that's now coming to the core of the problem. Is you feel like you're missing out, but the core of the real problem is that you're comparing yourself to everybody else when you're on all those medias. And I'm going to tell you this, and this is a quote from a priest, is there is no win in comparison. There's simply no win in comparison. Why? Because there's always someone going to be better than you no matter what. There's always someone's going to have a better car than you. There's always someone's going to be getting into med school or whatever faster than you would. And you're going to ask yourself, why God, why do I not have these things? Someone's going to have a better house than you. Someone's going to have a better, phone than you at one point or another. All these things it's going to happen. So there is no win. Every time you compare, there is no win in that. And so the question to you and me is that what we're doing? Is that what we're doing today? And if we are, we need to start realizing that it's not the solution. And we need to be truly content. If you're content with your job, if you're content with your schooling, with your studies and so on, you will truly live a peaceful and have Christ in your heart to overcome these things. So you can use social media, you can have it, but as long as it doesn't take away your contentment, I think that's where, we need to truly realize. So, and then the biggest way we're going to realize contentment is to being thankful. The church shows us this. I know everybody, we always talk about this, the fact that we always say the Thanksgiving prayer whenever we start any sort of service is true. And the reason for that is being thankful for the little and the big and the small and the things that are happening in your life, the harsh stuff, the good things, right now, the COVID-19 and how it's been so bad, all these things. If you're still thankful and you truly thank God for it in your heart, you will start to learn how to be content and to learn how to have that state in your life. So if you want to start somewhere, start with being thankful. So going back to with all what we've said throughout this discussion or throughout the presentation, how do we then refocus your social media activity? So I'm telling you, don't stop. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm not telling you to stop at all. But there are 4 things that at least you can try to do practically, like things that you can do daily or weekly that can help you through it. First is take a moment and think before you post anything, before you post something that maybe can embarrass you down the line, before it can embarrass someone else. Take a second and think about it. So use that opportunity. Try to take that little step. Just take a moment and think about it. So that's the first thing. The second thing is slow down a bit. Take it easy. Slow down. Just take a little bit of a break sometimes. Maybe you need it. Like take a week or two and not go on YouTube for that much time. Just, do your best and just take it down a bit. Like you don't need to have all the information that week. Just, I know it's not easy, and I'll tell you, can you take away your phone for more than 15 minutes? Maybe that's something you can try to do. But again, it's just slow down a little bit. We need to have that balance in our lives, and we try to do a lot of things in our lives, right? So use that, use the opportunity maybe in a week or a month and try to do that. The third thing is check your facts. These guys, for the love of God, don't just send things because someone else sent it to you. Just take a few seconds and check those facts. Like the amount of stuff that I see, people spreading the word, like, my goodness, the things that I see even within our own church groups, like how do you know it's true? Is your source that, or is your source a church? Or is your source the website of the church? Like, please check your facts before you send stuff out. Look at the differences. Like you can see it this week with what's going on, with the George Floyd thing is that a lot of people are just taking looking at one side, but not looking at the other side. Like in a sense of, yes, 100%, the protest, there's a lot of protests that are peaceful. There's people that are truly vandalizing and stealing. Like that's happening, but they're both happening. Don't take one or the other. Look at the facts, look at the whole picture, and then make your decision, make your call. Do you want to go out and protest with people? Do you want to do this? Do you want to do that? Do you want to share certain aspects? Do you want to go online and talk about it? That's fine, but look at the entire picture rather than just looking at one side of the story. But please check your facts before you send stuff out. Sorry, just because like these things are happening all the time and we're not realizing the things that we send out sometimes. Finally, and the most important thing is measure your life. This has to do with the comparison again. Measure your life against Christ's life. And I'll share with you the verse of Galatians 1:10. Again, Galatians 1:10. For do I now persuade men or God? For do I seek to please men? For if I still pleased men, I would not be a bondservant of Christ. Again, Galatians 1:10. For do I now persuade men or God? Or do I seek to please men? For if I still pleased men, I would not be a bondservant of Christ. What is your life like when we talk about your life with Christ? Are you focused on it? Is it something that's ongoing in you? Or is it something that you need to check and stop for a second and realize, hey, I'm not focused on that. And everything else is distracting me. And what are you measuring against? If you're measuring against your friends and people that you see online, your colleagues, whatever, from whether you're working or at school and your friends at school, if that's your comparison, I'm sorry to say, you will never win again, just like I said before. So measure your life against Christ. That's the comparison that you need to make. And if we're going to just keep saying we're the images of Christ and not work on it, then there's really no point in that. So 4 things to help us get to refocus our social media activity is take a moment and think, slow down a little bit, maybe not be there on those mediums as much as you need, or you need to. Check your facts, again, check, and measure your life against Christ in your daily life, and even with your social media, network and being on social media. A very simple even example of that is, sure, you might be sharing verses, but are you sharing more than just verses, in the sense that just because I share a quote or a verse, it's one thing, but it's completely different when you're embedded in that quote or you're embedded in that verse. So if you talk about John Chrysostom or you talk about the church fathers and you share a verse or share a quote from them, have you learned about their life? Have you learned about why they're saying this quote? I think that's the second step that we need to take, aside from just putting it out there. It's great that we're putting it out there to encourage others, but what do you know about the rest of that, right? So again, keep those kind of things in mind. Finally, we'll do one more polling questions, and then if anybody has any questions and answer Q&As. So if I can get you back on Slido. I'll open the last one. And this doesn't have to do because of the presentation. This is just if you're thinking about it in general, and hopefully you do. How likely will you slow down your utilization for social media next 2 to 4 months? So I hope you do, but again, you don't need to say yes to this. You can even say no if you'd like. So we're not judging anybody because I don't know who's saying what. So take a last bit of moment, the servants and all of us, to kind of put that out there and use the poll. So I'll give you a few seconds here to. Okay. Well, for those who voted, thank you. And for those who didn't, that's all right. Thanks for everybody's kind of involvement with the polls. I appreciate that. And it is the first time doing it. So I know sometimes we're shy, but hopefully next time more of you would vote. So, but this is great. Hey, try to think about it. Maybe that's something you want to do in your next few months. To slow down things a little bit on the social media side. Again, it's not to stop, but to try to use it in the right way, in the right avenue. So just a quick reminder on our verse for today. Not that I'm referring to being in need For I have learned to be content with whatever I have. Philippians 4:11. Any questions? Any comments? Any sort of comments from the last week of all the things that are happening in the world? Okay, awesome. Thanks, guys. Before you get off, you pray, but I'll let Meg. I don't know if there's any announcements, Megan, or anything.
I don't have any, but I don't know if Megan Gadib is on.
Don't think so.
I think you can go ahead and lead us in prayer, John.
Okay. In the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, and God, amen. Thank you so much, O Lord, for bringing us to this night and passing the day in peace and purity. Thank you for all your wonderful gifts. Thank you for just allowing us to come together through all this time of hardship and through this time of thinking and all the things that are happening in the world, and just allowing us to have this peace right now, to think about your word, but also to think about what our life is meaning, what's life's meaning, O Lord, in our hearts, and if you're truly, O Lord, in our heart or not. For we're seeing so much distortion and so much destruction around us, but yet we tend to forget, O Lord, that you're so near us, and we just need to come to you, O Lord, in the little things and even in the big things. Help us, O Lord, through this time. Help us to know the truth. Help us to find the truth. For there's so much lies and so much evil around us that sometimes we cannot simply just see it. Help us to realize that and help us to find it. Be with all your children who are standing or with you right now. Those who are not in the meeting, Lord, bless them. Be with them. Bring them to your holy name and to your church safely. Bless us, O Lord, through this time of tough time through COVID. Help all those, O Lord, who are in need. Those who have no one to remember them, Lord, please remember them. Those who have no one, O Lord, to help through this time, O Lord, for there's so many of the people that are suffering through the virus. Bless them, O Lord, and those who are ill, heal them for the sake of your holy name. Be with us and help us, O Lord, and help us, O Lord, to be ready to come back to your holy church and to pray to you more and to come closer to you more. Forgive us our many sins and have mercy upon us through the intercessions of prayers, O Lord, of the ever Virgin Mary, and through all your blessed saints and angels, the feast, O Lord, of the Ascension, and through this Sunday, O Lord, of the feast of the Pentecost, hear we pray with all thanksgiving. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those trespassing against us. And lead us not into temptation, deliver us from evil one. And gracious our Lord, for thine is the kingdom and power and glory forever. Thanks, guys. Miss you.
Thank you, John.
Miss you so much.
Miss you too.
Yeah. Hope to see you guys soon.
Hopefully. Hopefully.
You guys doing good?
Yeah.
Thank God, yeah.
Yeah.
Alhamdulillah.